Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, tonight I want to give you an update on Bitcoin. It seems to be doing nothing right now, and fear is still high. So, what exactly is going on with Bitcoin? Well, I'm going to explain it tonight. So, let's get started. Thanks for tuning in. Smash up the like. Subscribe to the channel. 2 streams almost every day, 11:30 and 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure you hit that notification bell and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and check out all the latest news, article, and guides at CryptosRUs.com. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you guys are doing splendid tonight. Well, Bitcoin is still kind of hovering around. Didn't go down, didn't go up, just kind of hovering, right? So what exactly is going on? I'm going to explain it. This morning we had a little bit of excitement, pumping over 44,000. It looked like we were doing that U-shaped recovery, right? It looked like it was going to head right back up above 45 and head higher. And then boom, all of a sudden we came down and we had some disappointing news. But overall, it still seemed like we may get that U-shape. A little weird U-shape, but maybe. But all right. So what happened? Well, this morning, the equities market was going up just like Bitcoin, and all of a sudden, tech sold off, Dow sold off, S&P sold off, but mainly tech, right? Why is that? Well, we had some disappointing, not unemployment, jobless numbers, so it does look like the economy may not be as good as Fed Chairman Powell wants us to believe. So tomorrow we got a few more metrics, reports about how the U.S. economy is. We have retail sales coming out, industrial production, and then we'll have some housing stuff that's coming next week, right? So this turned the market, or at least the traders, a bit more bearish. Of course, though, the main thing is inflation, right? We know, been talked about endlessly. Inflation. It's finally worrisome. So the second in command at the Federal Reserve, Brainard, she testified in front of Senate today, just talking about what they plan on doing. So nothing she said was really a surprise. She basically said, well, inflation is the top priority. We need to curb it. The economy is doing good, but we will start increasing rates as soon as we stop buying bonds, stop buying assets. And they're not going to know when they're going to start until they get some more economic numbers. Basically, get more feedback in terms of how well the economy is really doing. So many people are predicting that this will happen starting in March. As soon as March, only 2 months away, you're going to have the very first rate hike. And then you're going to have the balance sheet being kind of sold off or dropped off by the Fed, right? And tapering already happened, but it's going to be escalated. However, there is an asterisk. It really depends on how good the economy is. Because if it's not so good, and say Q1 numbers are turning out bad, or Q4 numbers, I should say, and some of these reports on how unemployment is and how jobs are and how sales and home builders and all this data, right? If it's not coming in so good, maybe they're going to have to, revise their decision a little bit. But I mean, this is the main thing right now, okay? This is the main thing that's causing the market to be scared, to be irrational, to be wonky, if I like to say it. I don't even know where I got that, but I like to say it. But this is what's happening. Unfortunately, Bitcoin is kind of put in that same category as tech. Okay, so we're seeing when tech sells off, Bitcoin is correlating. Not so much the S&P 500 or the Dow. It's more Nasdaq than anything, right? So we have that, and I have a little bit more to show about that. And also, something else that's weighing on people is this death cross, which just happened today. In fact, this afternoon, on a daily scale, Bitcoin did form a death cross, and many people are also very worried about this. I addressed it last night. I addressed it this morning. how death cross does not necessarily mean it's a bad thing. In fact, the last time the death cross happened, Bitcoin rallied. Okay, shortly after the death cross happened back in July of 2020, Bitcoin rallied from 28,000 all the way up to 69,000. Okay, so death cross is utilizing moving averages and they are lagging indicators, which means that Bitcoin has already sold off. So when that happens, well, good things are about to come, right? But not to put too much emphasis on death cross being fully bullish. There are cases where death crosses are bad, are bearish, and Bitcoin had extended lows after that. But if you combine everything else that's going on, all the metrics and the fundamentals I like to share with you guys, well, those things indicate that the death cross will be bullish and Bitcoin will continue forward. Okay? So, again, I want to address that death cross because it did happen today, and I know some people are talking about it. However, though, let's go back. Let's go back to what I was saying about Bitcoin being categorized as tech now and how Wall Street is basically buying up Bitcoin or selling off Bitcoin according to, as a risk-on asset. Okay, that's how they categorize it. A risk-on asset. One that is more speculative, more growth, faster movement, but is riskier during rate hikes and when the Feds are trying to shed their balance sheet and basically, they turn conservative. That's really what happens, right? And if you look at this, I just want to show you this real quick. So this is, if you look at the blue line, it's Bitcoin compared to the Nasdaq composite, and you could see that, yeah, it's it's very in tandem. Okay, let's just put it that way. So bottom line is there are correlations, and this is even a clearer picture of what that was showing. So take a look at Nasdaq since December 1st of 2021 till now. You could see the dips that Nasdaq experienced, and then look at the dips that happened with Bitcoin in the same time period from December 1st till now, January 13th. You could see, yeah, every single dip Bitcoin had correlated with a dip in Nasdaq. Okay, so yes, this proves that there is correlation, and only because Wall Street, they're idiots, and they're categorizing Bitcoin as a tech stock. And we know Bitcoin is not a tech stock. It is a technology, but it's not a tech stock. It's way more than that, but unfortunately, they are categorizing it somehow like that. But here's the good news. Here's the good news. From a TA perspective, if you look at Nasdaq from September to now, it's been following this trend line. And you could see that this trend line is making higher lows and higher highs. Only with the exception of recently, but it's been following this for quite some time. And every time it hits a trend line, it takes a breather, and guess what? It comes back up. And we happen to be at that point where it hit that trend line and may be coming back. So from a TA perspective, if Bitcoin is following Nasdaq, well, this is actually a pretty positive thing that it will bounce back in the near future and Bitcoin will follow. But outside of that, well, what else is good? Well, here's an article about Nasdaq, how it had a 10% correction, and it's laughable because with Bitcoin and crypto, 10% is like nothing. It's like a nothing burger. It's like within a few hours, but somehow Nasdaq, it's a big deal. But this also argues that when Nasdaq traditionally has a 10% correction, guess what? What follows the quarter, this next 6 months, the next year, has been more positive than not. In fact, the growth is more when there is a 10% decline, and then it rallies, right? So again, using that logic, well, then that means that Nasdaq is looking like it wants to rally. And if so, Bitcoin will rally with it. Okay, so I want to make that correlation, but ultimately, screw Nasdaq, screw Wall Street. What is making Bitcoin go forward? It's not a tech stock. It's an asset. It's a new asset class, and it's the scarcest one that we have. Okay? So, it's very different from a stock, and the fundamentals of Bitcoin continues to be strong. And not only just strong, it's getting stronger. Okay? So, this article talks about the Fidelity Report, which I pulled up here. Now, in this Fidelity Report, they basically they wrap up what happened in 2021. And keep in mind, Fidelity is one of the biggest asset managers in the world. Okay, over $7 trillion in assets. And they are very bullish on Bitcoin and crypto. So they summed up a few things in here that I think is worth mentioning. First of all, they talk about Bitcoin miners and the hash rate. And you could see that Bitcoin hash rate is at an all-time high. But what's more interesting is this. They summed up the fact that Bitcoin previously was thought of, or the network was thought of as a weak point because China at one point in time controlled over 75% of the network hash rate. And many speculated that China may have wanted to take over the network. They could have done a 51% attack if they wanted to. But guess what? They didn't. They kick out all the miners, okay? And now Bitcoin is better for it. There is no threat of a 51% attack. No sovereign nation has any control over Bitcoin. And that's actually really, really impressive. Basically, Fidelity summed up that you have basically the second world power, China, that took on Bitcoin, tried to shut it down by kicking it off and kicking off the miners. And they failed. They failed. So I think that's pretty significant if you think about that. And to wrap up, what do they think? What else is going to happen? Well, they declare that DeFi is going to be a big thing. A very big thing. And it will attract more high-profile individuals, institutional investors, corporations, and you even have sovereign nations that has adopted it, right? So bottom line is Fidelity is very, very bullish on Bitcoin and crypto overall. And I am too, because I believe what they're saying is correct. But it's good to see that one of the largest asset managers in the world is agreeing. Okay? Now, besides this, there's also a few other good things. For example, the liquid versus the liquid supply. You guys have seen me talk about this before. A liquid supply is the number of Bitcoins off the exchanges being held and it's not being traded, which means that the holders keep increasing. And that supply is up over 76% now. And the liquid supply is now down to 24%, and that continues to drop more and more and more every single day. That tells you something. The scarcest asset in the world is being bought and is being hodled. Okay, maybe not by the retail investors right now, but certainly by the big whales that want to accumulate more and more and more of it. And it's happening. It's happening. And finally, our friend our friend Max Kaiser, who's a big Bitcoin bull, he's like, for 11 years, my response to the critics is always the same. And basically, it's this. Zoom out. If you have questions about Bitcoin and where it's going to go, and if it's ever going to appreciate and continue forward, just take a step back and look at the bigger picture when Bitcoin was below 2 cents and when it was below $20, when it was below $2,000, when it was below $10,000, when it was below $20,000. And this gives you a clear picture of what has happened and will continue forward. All right, that's it. That's it for Bitcoin. So you guys can see there's a big correlation right now with tech, with Nasdaq, caused by Wall Street. They're just being really reactive right now. They don't know what to think. They're speculating, but we know what to think, right? We know we're on the right course. We're not speculating. We're investing. We're buying and we're holding and we're investing. So the last three things I want to talk about is just altcoin news. breaking news on CryptosRUs.com. Tesla's source code indicates that Dogecoin payments is indeed coming. We know Elon is one of the biggest bulls of Dogecoin. Someone decides to decipher the website and look at the payment mechanism, and there is something in there that says Dogecoin, so they may be ready to open up Dogecoin payments for Teslas in the near future. And if this happens, most likely they're probably going to open up Bitcoin payments too. But it's no surprise if they open up Dogecoin. I mean, yeah, I think it's going to come, right? So it looks like they're closer and closer in terms of actually making that happen. Also, lastly, I just want to remind you guys, Polygon, their long-awaited coin burning, their EIP 5059, yes, it sounds exactly the same as Ethereum's, but that is slated to be upgraded in 5 days. And afterwards, there will be coin burning. Polygon, unlike Ethereum, has a set supply. So when you have a set supply and you have TVL locking up liquidity and you introduce coin burning, well, you get the picture, right? It's going to make things very, very deflationary. And this is coming in 5 days. So get ready for that. Get ready for that. All right. Outside of that, overall, you know what? Today, kind of like hovering. Yesterday, we had a lot of greens. This morning, we had a lot of greens. Since then, things have come back down a little bit. But there are still some holders, some that are still in the green. So overall, not too shabby. All right, guys, let's do some Q&A. I'll leave this up for you guys. For the doubters, for the trolls, for the haters. Let's say Bitcoin's done, not gonna go anywhere. This is a good reminder of where it will go based on past history. All right, scrolling up. Thoughts on League of Kingdoms. It's a coin on Binance Launchpad. I never heard of it before. It sounds a lot like DeFi Kingdoms, but it does sound like it's some kind of play to earn game. Sorry, never heard of it before. Crypto Narrator says all of the markets are due for a massive rally. You know what? There's a lot of talk about a massive short squeeze on the horizon, and I don't disagree. There's too many people that, we've seen a lot of the longs get liquidated, but there's a lot of shorts that's also piling up, and they could definitely add to this short squeeze. And we could see that Bitcoin is holding strong. A lot of metrics show that it's about to turn. A lot of TA that shows it's about to turn, right? So right now, I think we're just in that iffy time because speculators are trying to determine what to do next and trying to make moves ahead of the Fed decision and trying to guess what the market's going to do. But we know what Bitcoin's going to do. It's going to do this like it always has, right? Let's see. All right. Raf says, I run a certification agency and issue paper certificates to my clients. I'm looking to incorporate an added element of security by creating an NFT version. In your opinion, which crypto project would be best suited for this? If you want to save on gas fees, you definitely probably want to go with Solana because it's near feeless to mint and create. So you might want to think about utilizing Solana, and that does bring me to my new partner FTX, which has an NFT marketplace, which allows you to create NFTs on Solana. In fact, it allows you to create on both. But, if you want to save on fees, you probably want to think about Solana. But that's a good idea, though. creating an NFT does not mean it has to be a picture or a collection, a doodle, art, okay? It could be used for verification, authenticity, right? So that's a good idea. It's a good idea. Let's see here. Alarming Chase, I appreciate it. Saw $690 gas fee the other day. Tonight I saw as high as $300. I never seen $700 for gas fees, but I did see 300 and it was pretty bad already. So there are just times where it's just not good. Danny asked about metaverse projects like Sand, Engine, Mana, Axie. I like all of them. Let's see. Elon said they're opening up for merch. Didn't say anything about cars yet. Yes, it's already open for merch. But cars, that's where it's coming. And according to that source code on the webpage, it looks like it's already there. They just didn't open it up yet. Let's see. What else is there? GLMR. I don't know what that is. Oh, Moonbeam. Why does it have such a weird symbol? Moonbeam has been, just going crazy both ways, up and down and up and down. I don't know what is going on. There's a lot of like pump and dumping right now with Moonbeam, but it's there are some projects that's actually utilizing already. So I heard of a few that jumped on Moonbeam, but basically it allows dApp makers to create EVM compatible dApps that's actually operating on Moonbeam, which happens to be a parachain of Polkadot. It's quite interesting. So I don't know what's going on. Why it pumps and dumps. I mean, recently I just saw it dump like 50, 60%, and now it's up 40%. I don't know quite what's going on with it. So I would wait until volatility kind of like dies down with it. Let's see here. Solana or Luna? If I had to pick, I'd pick Luna right now. I think they're a little bit lower in market cap, and I think their Terra USD is really carrying them. That's why their TVL is so high, and with their coin burning, which is massive, I think that's only going to increase because there's talks about distributing Luna across Ethereum. I think. Yeah, I like Luna a lot, but I also like Solana, but I like Luna more. Let's see. Holding and buying Polygon no matter what, because I believe in the project and it's going to hit $30 somewhere. Well, get ready for coin burning on Polygon. EIP 5059 could be a huge thing. Look at it. Look at what it did for Ethereum. All right, like $6 or $7 billion worth of burns. No, not yet. 5 billion. 5 billion. I'm sorry, but you can see 5 billion just disappeared. Poof. That's a big deal, right? And right now it's burning at 12 or 13. There's a ton of congestion tonight for some reason. I don't know what's going on with Ethereum right now. Usually it's like a lot lower. All right, Tuesday's Dragonfire, appreciate it. Elron, yes, I do think it has good potential. They need to onboard more DEXs, basically. Seeing local school and business shut down because too many people are going out sick. Wonder what the national outlook is coming up. You know what, Anthony, I have thoughts on that. Whether or not they're really out sick or they're just using an excuse, I don't know. And there's, unions and teacher associations that just seems like they just want every excuse to not teach. So I don't know. there's a lot of screwed up things that's going on right now. I believe Harmony 1 will make Matic like gain similar back to May. 1 is almost back to all-time high. Harmony's doing very well. I'll say DeFi Kingdom's also doing very well. But Harmony, they have a $300 million fund I covered this morning. They're giving out a lot of grants. They're drawing a lot of dApp makers. So that's what you want. Ultimately, these L1s are judged by the number of dApps and 2, the number of liquidity, the total value locked into those dApps. That's what really matters, right? This is why these big boys are the big boys, because they have that locked in. So Harmony is getting there. Their TVL is still relatively small, but as they grow, the price will too. I don't know. Oasis, I mentioned before. They have something going on with Facebook, and they also got a big investment for Binance. So it does seem like, I don't know, they're onto something when it comes to metaverses, or I don't know what, but they were pumped up recently because of it. So could be a good buy. I don't even know where Rose is at. Let's just take a look. 1.3, that's relatively small. That's about half of Harmony. So they got good traction. I think any L1 that gets above a billion, I mean, they're pretty solid. It's hard to get above a billion. But once they get there, a lot of them kind of struggle between the 1 to 2 billion, right? Again, it depends on the dApps that come on board and TVL ultimately to drive them forward. All right, last few questions on BlockFi. How safe is the platform in comparison to Gemini? Would you stake there? BlockFi arguably is the safest because they utilize not only Gemini's custody service, but also Coinbase's. And Coinbase's is arguably the best there is. So they utilize both. They have plenty of insurance, big backers, right? They're based in the U.S. They have phone support, which very little exchanges offers. So yeah, they have a lot of goodness to them. Do you think Chainlink will do 3x by the end of the year? Well, Chainlink is on a roll recently. So can they go to 75? Well, if the market continues to do well, yes. And there's a lot of hope for their new CCIP bridge. So there you go. And BlockFi offers a rewards credit card. That is true. They're the only ones that really do offer. I know others are trying to come out with it, but they have a far lead. And it's pretty good if you want to buy things and get rewarded with Bitcoin. All right, guys. DCA, I'm not going to do DCA tonight. And I missed it yesterday. I'll probably just do it next week. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. As always, smash the like, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right? Big Mikey, thank you for that. Take care. Bye-bye.